Hello, and welcome to Sean and I's thoughts on the latest episode of Doctor Who, The Lie of the Land. This, of course, was the last in the trilogy that it's been going on for, odd enough, 3 weeks.
Only Douglas Adams does trilogies that are 3.
That are or aren't?
Aren't.
Alright.
What, 5 books, technically, in the trilogy of Hitchhiker?
Is it 6, maybe?
Sorry, I had this try.
I don't know. But anyway, we'll be doing my thoughts first this week. I quite liked this one. The trailers actually gave away very little in terms of what would actually happen in terms of the story itself. I mean, most of the trailers suggested the first, 10 minutes of it, which is more or less the setting for it, that the monks have taken over and the Doctor's working with them now, and we don't know whether or not the Doctor's working. We, of course, in this episode, as I think I suggested last week or the week before that this will be the one when we see the regeneration scene that we'd seen in the series trailers of that people have been speculating. He's going to have an early regeneration. We saw that in this one. Turned out to be fake and a false one. I still want to know how he did a fake regeneration.
I'm not sure how he did that either.
I want to know how that happened. At the same time, a part of me is wanting to go with
post-effects.
No, but I quite like the episode itself. The idea that the most effective way for them to invade, as Nardole says, is if people think it's always been this way, they're less likely to fight against the system. Which is a very effective way of, if you change the history. It's he who controls the history books controls the future. If you say things have always been that way, you are less likely to question it. You just accept it. That's how it is. And I remember seeing an article about what the episode was about. Was oddly enough, it's mentioned in it, fake news. It's all been rather political lately in terms of Doctor Who stuff. Or maybe we're just reading into it more.
About as political as the Hunger Games, and by that I mean it's like a blood into the fucking forehead. Just like, well done, you made a reference to something. Though this does have a more likeable lead than the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Not that that's hard to be.
I've only seen one of the Hunger Games films.
That is the best one.
It's the second one I've seen.
It's they're all kind of bland and.
I didn't watch the first one. I knew.
That's kind of
went
weird
to see
going to the second one. And go, all right, I need to know what's going on. I can do this.
No, I read what the plot was, so I was aware of. All right, I got the premise.
Same as actually watching. Go, oh, look on Wikipedia.
But no, you are right. I was asked if I wanted to go along to it, and it was when I was at uni still, and I wanted to go along because I enjoyed spending time with the people who were going, and of course, mates my friends. And I'd heard relatively good things about the films anyway, so I briefly looked up what the plot was in terms of the previous one, so I knew kind of what the context was. Went in to see it. It was quite good. I enjoyed the film. I'm talking about Hunger Games here in case anyone's lost track. I think it's Catching Fire is the second one.
I believe so.
Yeah, because the third one's Is the third one Mockingjay?
I don't care enough to look it up.
But yeah, back to Doctor Who, which is what we should be talking about. I like this episode.
We're always on topic.
We go off very quickly these days. No, I like the episode. I like what they did with it. I liked the subversion from what the trailers portrayed it to be like.
Maybe the trailers are part of the
Or the subterfuge.
Yeah.
A fake news trailer.
Trailers have been known to deliberately misguide people.
Which is sometimes good.
It can, yeah, it's.
I did say sometimes. I didn't say always.
Be careful you don't get sued. There's something live between.
No, there.
Flat out lying.
Yes, there is that. But even then, I like the premise of the story itself. The fact that the monks have only been there for a few months, but by utilising sort of changing the history books, make them sound like they've always been there.
Although that opening scene did feel like someone has spent way too much time in Photoshop. There's me with Winston Churchill, and someone's having.
There's me with Einstein.
With Photoshop here. That's me, and we totally know each other, totally.
I did like parts of that. Parts of the way they sort of reinsert. Sometimes it is a bit photoshoppy, but obviously that's what happens when you reach this modern age and it's lots of photos. I like the cave illustration actually with the monk.
Yes.
I thought that's a good one. A guiding light, and sort of how the Doctor was sort of the mouthpiece, or portrayed to be.
Well, yeah. The whole thing reminded me of V for Vendetta. I think it might just be brushing under the thrall of a fascist.
Well, there's any kind of dictatorship that uses sort of...
Like, is Hugo Weaving going to show up? It's so best episode ever.
It's a bit 1984 in that aspect as well. If it's the idea of controlling... Because literally, 1984 does that. They literally control the history books. Because it's when they become unpersons, when they're removed from like the archives. They literally change. It's the whole thing of we are at war with Eurasia. We have always been at war with Eurasia. East Asia is our friend. They have always been our friend. Cut 2 weeks later, we're at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with East Asia. 1984 does that quite literally, which is a terrifying thing. But it's one of the things of if someone has complete control and therefore they change things, you don't question it. So it raises up some really good issues, and I kind of like the scene at the end as well, when the monks have been defeated, yay! And they say, "Oh, show humanity."
That's just your average college student. That is just.
But it's also very much the thing of you realise with generally you can look at humans. The idea of when the Doctor says it, you want some examples of fascism? There you go. Fundamentalism? No? Okay then. We do have historical examples of tyranny, of all these atrocities and things that have been committed, but we do have a habit of generally, seemingly falling. History repeats itself. Might be in different forms, but it does have a history. It's the idea of those who do not. It's those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Something like that, I believe.
Yeah, which is very true. We are very slow learners in terms of culture and society. The things might change, but fundamentally, history does have a habit of sort of the patterns of history repeat themselves. If an empire or a power becomes too large and too overstrained, eventually the cracks will begin to appear, either domestically at home or there'll be fight back from abroad. You could look at Rome, you could look at British Empire, you could even compare that to the United States. Now, we're seeing the end of the American Empire, if I want to get a little political. But I won't. I'll save that for another day. What did you think of it?
It's like Rally movie Vendetta a bit.
You like V for Vendetta?
I like the comic book of it.
You do like the comic book.
The film is a bastardization version of it.
Most film versions of any kind of original text tend to be.
Well, it was written by the Wachowskis, wasn't it? Even the film.
I think it was. To be fair, the film is.
You can tell an American wrote this, not.
Oh yes, it has a very. A lot of people said afterwards it's got a very sort of strong anti-Bush sort of.
The original thing was against Margaret Thatcher when the original graphic novel came out.
It was against.
Margaret Thatcher and
yes, it was.
When they written it by Alan Moore, the mad uncle of comic books. Stan Lee's the grandpa trying way too hard to be hip and failing, but we love him for it. Frank Miller's the racist uncle you invite out of courtesy but no one talks to him. Alan Moore's the batshit uncle who has awesome stories but complains about everything to do with modern day.
And they're all members of my family from the sound of the description as well.
Well, yeah, mate, that's my. It's your family, it's Stan Lee, Frank Miller, and Alan Moore. It's an awesome family.
Well, the stereotypes you've summed up but it could be reassociated to other relatives, but yes.
Yes.
There's quite a few of them. I won't get into it, I'll tell you after the recording. Oh, go away, John.
God damn it, John! What are you doing? Interrupting us. Now we start again.
It's that,
now
John.
We have to start again. I remember what you said.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I like the episode. It was nice. V for Vendetta / 1984. I suppose that's redundant, really.
There are different elements in terms of how they do things. But yeah, it's the whole kind of fighting against the dictator, and in terms of it's a domestic revolution.
Possibly.
Well, even then, all of them are sort of, it's one man, it's a small group or a single person fighting against this regime, but sometimes it's just for themselves. Winston Smith in 1984 isn't fighting to overthrow the regime, he's fighting to save himself. And in the end he loses, which is the tragedy of 1984. V for Vendetta is a bit more vague in terms of the exact outcome of the collapse of the regime. Because the film suggests one thing, the comics is a very different ending in terms of what it alludes to. Because doesn't the ending of the comic sort of allude to what V is supposed to be about, sort of anarchy? Because he is an anarchist, if memory serves, isn't he?
An anarchist and does horrific things.
Whereas the film makes him...
Tries to make him the...
In terms of he is the... Well, he's... That's one we'll have to do one day.
Vendetta.
It's a film I'm more than happy to watch.
Yeah,
I've liked the dialogue for the film. I quite like. As a film, I like it. You are right; it is a bastardization of the original source material. But as a film, I can very happily watch it because I like the score for it. I like the characters. I like a lot of the acting involved. I think it's a good film. I enjoy it. And I like that John Hurt is was it Adam Sutler they called him, isn't it? Yeah, because in the comic book he's Adam Susan.
Yes.
And they made it a portmanteau between Susan and Hitler. Sutler.
See, we're subtle.
But yes. So
but yeah, other than that, I like them. We still didn't get an answer on what the monks were or who they were. And just kind of buggered off.
I think from the sounds of it, they were just an alien race.
Yeah. Just.
Although we posited, there's something else. I think they were just an alien race that invades. I have to admit, their form of invasion is clever.
Yeah, it's a different way of doing it.
It's a very surreptitious way as well, and it's been, I wouldn't say effective necessarily, because as we've seen, it can fight, it can go very badly wrong for them. But like all invading, it's an interesting, it's a different way than we've seen previous, sort of, certainly in terms of Doctor Who, and generally there's not too many works of fiction I can think of when you thought it had an alien invasion. They invade by making you think differently. The idea of sort of mind control, it's mind control but in a different way. It's not direct mind control into mindless slaves, it's you change what they think. You change their history. You change the circumstances that they live in, which is different. I like that. So this was also the third in our three-parter, so what do we think of it sort of as the story arc? Because we've got a story arc here. Because we've got a story arc lasting 3 episodes, and they've all been very different.
Ooh, different writers, haven't they?
Apart from Stephen Moffat, who wrote the first part of the 3-part and then co-wrote the second one. But yeah, we've had 3... Well, yeah, it's 3 different writers have written this 3-parter. And I think they've had a change of directors for at least 1 or 2 of them. Maybe all 3 of them might have different directors. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know that Sean's going to be looking that up. They've all been very different episodes as well, because they've been fighting against the monks. Because the first one was, we had the idea of perception of reality.
Extremists and the Pyramid End of the World were directed by the same person.
This one wasn't.
This one wasn't.
Okay.
Although he is directing next week's episode as well.
We'll get to that later. So the first one, which was Veritas... No, Extremis.
Extremis.
Because we had the Veritas
in it.
Yeah, that's it.
Extremis.
I knew it was Latin still. That was about the perception of reality. We're all in a computer program.
We're all in the Matrix, man.
Yeah. Last week was...
The Pyramid.
The Pyramid. It's the Pyramid at the end of the world.
Yeah.
Which... I'm trying to think of kind of summing up kind of what they're about kind of thing.
Stuff.
Well, that was literally sort of the monks finding the way to take over as well. But it's the idea of what is power, what is the true source of root of power. The idea of is it out of fear, is it out of strategy, it's out of love. Which brings me on to, I can bring us quite nicely then into Mum's thoughts on this week.
Okay.
As she went, very nice. She knew Bill would save the day.
What's the other companion? They always save the day.
Usually do. But she also said...
But
as she also said, what saved the day was love. True love saved the day. Which is what got us into the mess in the first place. Love is consent. And it was Bill's love...
It's a joke that I can make, but I need a way to work around it.
Bill's love of the Doctor allowed the monks in. Allowed the monks to take over. And it was Bill's love for her mother that saved the day.
Yes. Love. It's what's all been about, love.
All you need is love. John Lennon.
Well, love got him far.
Oh, that's cold, Sean. Come on.
You've been dead for...
Yes, it is. It's nothing to do with love.
Movie. Ah, too soon.
It's not fair. The idea that love can keep you alive forever. Anyway, we've gone off topic. No, I like that. There's a strange sort of bookended nature to the whole thing, and it gives a degree of importance to Bill's mum again. Because even the doctor admitted that he went back in time to take all those photos. We know that because that was just kind of. It was shown in the first episode, wasn't it? That in one of the photos you can see the doctor taking the photograph. And it turns out the doctor, even then, later on, his actions would save the day or help to. I did quite like the scene actually where they arrive on the boat to save the doctor, and it appears that he has turned, because his arguments are, you can see the doctor kind of agreeing with it in terms of what the monks are doing, because it's the nature of the monks aren't inherently, they're benevolent, they are a guiding hand. The whole point of them is they want to keep the human race surviving. We don't quite understand why, admittedly. Because usually when creatures invade Earth and take over, it's to literally take over, enslave them and things like that. The monks don't seem to. The monks have control, and I'm just looking at the examples of invasion, colonization, and that kind of thing. Sometimes that's enough. But we don't quite learn why they're doing it. The exact motives. If there is anything more to it than that. But yes.
Yes. Who knows? They might come back at some point.
They might, that's the key thing. They just left.
Oh, we're done.
Well, they've overthrown us. They fought back. Well, we had a good run, lads.
Just they leave. Don't worry, it's all part of my plan.
It's all part of the plan.
No, it isn't, Steve. You're not that clever. Shut up.
What did you think of the monks as villains?
They were suitably creepy.
The one this week, the one at the brain of the signal thing, that had a particularly creepy face to it. Very sort of.
It looked more decomposed than the rest of.
He did.
Like,
looked less human almost as well. Actually, the face sort of had a almost like a longer
humans
muzzle.
In the future come to stop us from fucking the past up. Sorry, I'm spitballing ideas of who they are.
Yeah, kind of see that a little bit.
The rules Doctor Who Time. Okay, Doctor Who Time Travel has no rules. They change it on a whim. But
yeah, well, time travel. I wouldn't say time travel particularly has rules. It's whatever we.
You generally in fiction need a rule, otherwise it just becomes the end all.
No, you're right, but
plot device like we'll just go back in time and change it.
But given that it's science fiction and it's all theoretical, the rules can kind of change.
It's like in Star Trek. In Star Trek, you can time travel. Well, that raises the question of why you don't time travel all the time, since it is incredibly easy in Star Trek time travel to fix problems. It's just like, you have walls, massive walls, you go back in time and stop it. You don't, but you can, it's just... Never just time travel into something, it creates more plot holes and stuff.
It doesn't create plot holes, it creates quandaries, I think, more than plot holes, because it's the whole... Then you get into the argument of, is it right to change... Well, then you get into the realm of paradoxes, like, if you go back in time with an express purpose to change things, in doing that means you've removed the reason for you to go back in time in the first place. So it's the grandfather paradox.
Then the Soviets take over Europe, and then Red Alert happens.
But of course, equally, it depends on what laws of time travel you want to create. Because in doing that, does that simply create a universe, a parallel timeline that you now exist in, like with Back to the Future, Back to the Future 2, where you will begin to fade away because it's a different version of you, or like in Back to the Future 2, do you simply replace the individual in this new timeline that you have either you kind of unintentionally created, but at the same time you have this new timeline that you have created. Do you replace them, or do you yourself disappear because you're not part of that timeline anymore? Which is largely down to the writer in terms of what they want to do with it. Because that's what they did in the X-Men, wasn't it? Days of Future Past. Is it Days of Future Past?
Film or there's a comic book?
Comic book.
Oh, I haven't read the book in years. I
remember it from the cartoon series as well. If it's like Bishop had to have an item on him to stop himself being infected by changing, because he was going back in time to prevent the world from becoming like it was where he was from, he had to have something on him to stop himself disappearing. Because otherwise, if he changed it, he would begin to fade away, so he had to do something in order to secure it. But then it comes to the idea of you go back in time and you change history, presumably for the better. You don't know what the unintended consequences of that are.
Yes, you would go with the intention to make it better. It might not necessarily go that way.
You look at Making History by Stephen Fry. It's a book I recommend. A man goes back in time to stop Hitler from being born. In the first place, he goes back in time and he throws. It's some kind of chemical that into a well into the village that Hitler's father is raised in, and whoever drinks from the well, they'll become infertile. Therefore, meaning that Hitler could never be born because his father can't drink it, and therefore he'll become sterile. But when he goes back to the future, he finds out that someone else assumed the role of the leader of the Nazi Party, who was more effective, and the Germans won the Second World War. And other things go on from there. It's the idea of if we had stopped World War One, World War Two, all those millions of people who were killed, we don't know what they might have gone on to do. Some of them could have been great inventors who could have created who knows what to make things better for us. There could have been countless individuals who would have done great harm to the world if they'd gone on to live. Things we'll never be able to know, and we can only speculate on. There's the very nature of time travel is a difficult beast, which is why a lot of the time you have things like they're fixed points in time. You can't go around messing up with them because it messes up with the time stream. You get people who do it. The idea of it to see one of my favourite hobbies, what ifs, what could have happened, and things like that, and you can speculate.
Well, a brief history of time travel.
By Alex Dixon.
Next cinema will be yesterday because time travel. You've already been to the second cinema, I see. That's how it works.
No, I enjoyed this week. Should we talk about next week's?
Ice Warriors.
Yes, and Victorian British
My mum said
soldiers.
that. Went, Victorians again. To which I went, yes, but they're on Mars. Makes it totally different.
My initial thought on it, because it's Mark Gatiss writing it, apart from thinking, this is going to be a very H.G. Wells sort
yeah,
of...
I'm expecting very H.G. Wells steampunky kind of universe.
Well, even that, what's the... Who wrote Tarzan? Because he also did John Carter. It was Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's going to have that kind of feel, I think, in part to it. This sort of because it's literally sort of Boer War colonial type look, sort of to them. I'm thinking of on Mars. I'm thinking of this would be interesting because even then they don't seem to quite realise they're on Mars.
No.
Or even then, how the hell did they get there?
Steampunk space airship.
I wish.
Needs to happen, Mark. If it doesn't, I will be writing a very angry tweet.
That's happened. It's a game.
Just...
Someone's done that because I've seen sort of steampunk thing, and it's literally the imperial powers on Europe colonise the solar system. It's an interesting one. I'll see if I can find the link and send it to you. But that looks to be an interesting one. And we've got what, Queen of the Ice Warriors type thing?
Yes, I believe they mentioned the Queen of the Ice Warriors.
I'm trying to remember exactly what the other soldier says when he says they will defeat. He says, I hardly think the British Army are going to be beaten by...
a bunch of stand-up crocodiles or something.
That's the one. I knew it was crocodiles. I couldn't remember quite.
Stand-up upright crocodiles or something. It's like...
By Jove, we won't be beaten by a bunch of them, lads.
We will fight them on the beach. This is Mars. I don't think it has any beaches or waters, period. But how did the Ice Warriors survive?
Well, we knew there was waters on Mars, but don't go near it.
Yeah. Oh well. But Ice Warriors on Mars,
What's next week's called?
Oh, I've got the link now. Something about... Isn't it called, Empress of Mars?
Ah, that must be the leader of the,
Ice Warriors.
Yes. That'll make sense.
And they have the Empire, apparently. They have the Empress, I assume they have the Empire. That's
true.
That's just bullshit titling, otherwise.
Or
I am an empress of what? This planet?
Or alternatively, is it in fact in reference to the British Empire? Claiming Mars.
Queen Victoria was an ice warrior?
No, but Queen Victoria was the Empress of India.
Yes.
Empress of Mars, they claim it in the name of the British Empire.
So the final fight is going to be the Queen of the Ice Warriors or whatever, fighting against steampunk power battle armor Queen Victoria. I would watch that. And
Right, you start writing the script, I'll get casting on this.
you call Mark Gatiss, I'll twist your script.
A few alterations if you don't mind.
Just goes, one is not amused.
Because we've had Queen Victoria appear in it as well.
Yes.
She'd be in the werewolf. Do we go for a younger Queen Victoria? Because that's towards the end of her reign.
Her final one-liner as she wins.
What, one is not... We are not
Oh, whatever.
amused.
Something famous. That's Scrooge when famous for saying.
No, but I'm intrigued by next week's one. And, of course, we had a fair bit of Missy as well.
Oh.
What did you think of
She
Missy?
mentioned Missy in the...
Yeah, because Missy's... As in, she actually appeared... Not as in a flashback.
To someone when stuff happened with Missy playing her piano. Bored. In the vault.
Yep. She's not been visited for 6 months.
Months, man. 6 months.
I know the feeling. Steve, if you're listening...
Alright, it's getting a bit, He never comes!
No, it's because he left me for 6 months. After
Yes,
bloody Dundee.
It's like, he left me!
I like to remind him.
Him leaving on a train, just running down a platform, and leave me pissing down with rain. Swelling music score.
Running along the side of it.
Train just speeds up and you can't quite keep up, and he goes. Him trying desperately hard not to look at you because he'll feel guilty. All done in slow motion. Aww.
Anyway.
Yeah, Missy. Back to Missy.
Yes.
She was there. I thought you could have more to do with the episode.
Yeah, I thought she was actually as well.
And then she leave the vault.
But no, it looks like she is literally stuck in the vault for the 1,000 years. Although, but my mum was at the end scene when she's crying because she is beginning to remember all the people she killed. My mum's thought was, don't believe her, she's lying.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing. People like that. And are they genuinely having a?
Are they genuinely having a change
trying
of
to mess with you?
character? Which also leads us into the question of how on earth we're going to get John Sim into it now.
I was thinking that if she does just dark thought, but
What?
she generally did feel so remorseful that she would somehow commit suicide and regenerate back into Johnson.
Or
That's that dark, Doctor.
postulating on a slightly different way, rather than quite that dark, does something make a sacrifice,
Yeah.
which causes her to regenerate, but also undoes all the sort of the good work.
Yes, Pat Johnson being wacky.
But also a part of me was thinking of, well, what if the Master does go good? Because you've always said an interesting idea for a companion would be the Master.
Well, that's based on this anime
There's-
with Richard E. Grant, where there's a robot version of the Master as a companion.
Yeah, I know what the
Played
basis
by
was,
Derek
but-
Jacobi, weirdly enough. It's a bit weird, bit of continuity. But yeah, the Master as a companion would be an interesting idea. Just to see the two of them.
But even then, I would quite find that quite interesting for whoever. Well, we'll have depending on how long they stick around. But the new companion after Bill is the Master. That would be interesting. Certainly that. Not sure how well it would work exactly.
If the Master's like forced to be there and forced to help, there's no choice in some matter.
That would be an
It's that
interesting
kind of
one.
begrudging helping along, but making comments about, oh, I would do it like this, you see, and they'll all be dead. But problem solved.
Part of me would want that. There would need to be some other companion, though. I think you would need to have someone else there as well. Admittedly, I like it when there's more than one companion.
Yeah.
Because it creates a different dynamic. That's part of why I like Nardole on the team. It creates a different dynamic when Nardole and Bill are there. Because they have different personalities and the way the three of them work together and conversate, the way the dialogue and conversations work, it's different, it's entertaining. If you've only got one person...
Although you then can hit Peter Davison era Doctor Who where there's like 4 or 5 of them and it's just too many of them.
Yeah, there is such a thing as too many, but I think 2 companions is quite a nice balance, particularly if they're not necessarily, if they don't arrive in the same episode, so they don't know each other as well. So they've got a different relationship that they're learning as well as a different relationship each of them has with the Doctor. I quite like that. I think 3 might be the maximum I'd want, really.
Yeah.
3's workable, 3 companions. It's quite a lot, though, in terms of for a 45-minute episode when you've got like kind of.
That's what you do. I was just there to be. Oh no! I tripped and I have to be out of this episode for 2 parts. Oh dear, I'm pretty fine.
3 work, but generally, if you have the team of 3, so the Doctor and 2 companions, that works. I think that's because 3's a nice. It's the whole thing of 3's a magic number. 3 works as a nice dynamic because it means you can have 2 people doing things. And then 1 person on their own, and vice versa, things like that. It's not too many that you're confused with who's where. It's just enough. I like when I do writings for scenes, I like 3 people. Because it creates an interesting dynamic. Because it's not just sort of tennis conversation. It's not just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's you're having to alternate. It's a different cycle of the conversation.
But yeah, Missy did stuff. Kind of.
Wonderful summary there. Missy did stuff. Well, I am curious as to whether or not she is genuine, though, actually, in terms of her grief. Because we know the Master's very effective at sort of playing that game.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether or not she's being 100% genuine. What do you think? Probably not, no.
Although this is the last time series she's doing it, so...
Yes, it is true. Now, I'm curious, does that mean John Sims returning as the Master again? Which would be interesting if we're getting a sort of...
If he did character slightly more grown up, I think is the word I'm looking for. Less wacky fun time and more...
Yeah, it's a thing of same face but different personality.
Yeah, just slightly more of an... Hesitate to use the word edge.
John Sims is a very good actor.
Yeah, he is. He's like from Mars.
I like a lot of the stuff he's been in. Yeah. I know that his version of the Master didn't particularly gel with Sean.
It's a bit... I like the Roger Delgado kind of... I am
charming,
sophisticated. Which worked quite well with John Pertwee, the Doctor. I like the clangers. It wasn't overtly evil either. He was just slightly sinister more than anything.
Sinister works. Sinister's got more of an edge to it.
Wacky times of fun. Let's dance to a song.
It worked in some ways.
I think we got the end of time, which that got kind of homoerotic really quickly.
End of Time was slightly odd.
Yeah.
I liked John Sims. I liked his Master. I preferred some of his first stuff. The End of Time stuff was a little bit too out there, I think, for me.
Play the madness underneath rather than overtly in your face. It's less. Does he still hear the drums now? No, Rastalon's no longer.
We don't know. We have no idea.
Make him still mad. George Delgado, you never got the idea that he wasn't quite sane, but he was never overtly mad.
No, it's a thing they introduced largely, I think.
Yeah, Master was kind of a bit downy. Or bring Derek Jacobi back. I still want to see him play the Master.
I would quite like to. That would be quite
3
fun.
lines he had, he was fucking terrifying. Just like, oh, mummy. That's more because you knew him beforehand as being nice. It just suddenly turned.
Yeah.
And just like, okay.
That's one of the saddest ones, I think, in some ways.
Mummy, he's not being very nice anymore. Yeah.
No.
Who knows if we get what Johnson will be doing, and whether he'll be back permanently or...
Yeah, well, even then, what episode he's going to be back in?
We've got Empress of Mars, which I assume not. The Eaters of Light. And then it's the finale.
And then the finale, the two-parter.
Two-parter.
It's weird to think we've only got a month left.
Yes, only a month left of Doctor Who. And still no word on...
The replacement. Who the new one's going to be. If they've not done it yet, I suspect they won't announce it. They'll announce it over the summer, because it will be the Christmas special.
Oh.
That's what they did last time around. If they would have announced, I would assume, maybe not. I mean, BBC can sometimes sort of say program's going to come out in about 2 weeks to reveal who's going to be in time for the finale. But they tend to give a fair bit of due notice.
Well, you got to let the fandom settle down.
It's not just that; they tend to make the decision quite far in advance.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's already been made.
I would
Just
be
haven't
unsurprised.
heard about it yet. It hasn't been made, but they've made a decision.
I would be unsurprised at that as well. But we'll see.
Keeping it on the down low. Hasn't been any leaks yet, so it's like, oh, it's this person.
Nothing following the Chris Marshall thing.
No, that wasn't a leak. That was just.
It was a rumour that sort of hasn't gone anywhere. Some people
they say
sort
an anonymous source within the BBC said.
Yeah. But it's not been picked up by anything else really. I've not seen anything related to it since. Sort of died a death really.
I'm sure it will come back up at some point.
Well, I'm sure. I think they'll probably come out because, of course, we had the false regeneration this time around.
We all knew it was going to be fake.
We knew it was going to be fake in some shape or form.
Yeah,
Well, we knew it would be the actual transition. Because we suspected it might have been like David Tennant's one. He regenerates into himself.
He just pulled a fake one somehow.
Well, actually, that being fair, we do know the Doctor can activate regenerative energy because Matt Smith did it to heal. 11th Doctor did it. Yeah, River Song's wrist. And we know they can do it, so I suspect that's how the Doctor actually did it. He tapped into the ability to start to use some regenerative energy, but didn't actually regenerate.
Then he helped bees stop evolving. No Charizard. Pretty much that's what he did.
Yeah.
You see the guy, but he's not going to regenerate. He's not going to regenerate. You're not fooling anyone. You haven't got the balls to do that just in the middle of an episode. That would surprise everyone.
That would surprise everyone. There would be very strong reactions to that.
Like, there's going to be strong reactions no matter who it was.
Yeah, but to do it unexpectedly.
Yeah, it's fun watching the internet implode. And fandoms get really angry with each other. Just generally communication breakdown.
You really are one of those people who sort of, I just like to watch the world burn.
Pretty much.
Aren't you sometimes?
I like to watch fandoms burn. There's nothing wrong. I'm like I actively instigate incidents. At least nothing that can be traced back to me. It's just sometimes funny to watch a bunch of people get really angry at something that in the end is kind of pointless. There's a weird charm to it. Like, you care, but you care too much. And we all do it. We all have extreme reactions to things we don't like or like. No one can say they haven't had that moment where they get incredibly angry about something or not. Get completely happy about something.
Yeah.
We've all done it.
Can't please all the people all the time.
If you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
Exactly.
Never compromise. Do what you want to do and you just go for it. Fuck the doubters. They can be purged. I mean, forgotten.
Sean, you're giving too much away of our plan.
Just hold it. Just ring someone up on the phone and just go, do it. What? That's something come do it.
It's just activate Order 66.
Do it. Oh dear. But yeah, that was the episode.
That was. I think we seem to be in the consensus
end of the trilogy.
The end of the trilogy. We enjoyed the episode. We enjoyed the trilogy.
I like the monks. They didn't really do much, but in fact, this episode they were barely in it. Oh.
Which in some ways made them more threatening.
It's just I like the makeup. It's cool.
Because they weren't actively doing anything. That's kind of what made them more sinister in some ways. But generally, they got very little screen time. Most screen time they got was last week.
Yeah.
The week before that, they were more sinister because they were doing stuff, but we didn't know what it was. We knew what their purpose was and what their sort of end goal was when it came to last week. And last week, we actually saw them sort of kill people. This week we're not fighting them directly as monsters. We're fighting the regime.
Fighting the man.
Power to the people.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
All that stuff.
For the many. Not the few.
I'll shoot my AK-47 into the air.
all that kind of thing.
Viva la revolution.
Got there eventually.
Stay drunk. And, it's a very drunk revolution. Okay, Viva, yeah, whatever you say. More tequila. You may take our land, but you'll never take our tequila.
If anyone's looking for anyone to lead a rebellion, Sean is available, providing
the
there
most
is
awesome rebellion ever.
providing there's
Blackjack
copious
whistles.
amounts of tequila.
If there's tequila required. Well, I'll never see it coming.
No,
Start singing whatever you sing when you're home tequila. A local or something.
Do you sing? Surely you would sing tequila.
Yeah. All your jeeps will
Tequila. No.
Just forget the lyrics. Fuck it, whatever.
To be fair, there aren't any lyrics to the song apart from tequila. Literally it. Tequila.
Something. You know where we were going with that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think since we've gotten on to that subtopic now, we can end it there as well.
Ice Warriors.
Ice Warriors, join us next time for the Empress of Mars.
Needs Queen Victoria with the laser
Does.
gun.
Steampunk armor.
Make it happen, Mark. Yes.
Make it so.
Yeah.